Hi everyone, good evening. Welcome to my talk on exploiting misconfigured JIRA instances for some dollars. My name is Bothra and I will be taking today's session. First of all, I would like to thank Omar and the Red Team Village team for inviting me to this Learning Thursday talk. Now, this talk is going around the JIRA instances misconfiguration and particularly talking about some of the common CVEs which an unauthenticated attacker can exploit in order to abuse the JIRA and have some quick dollars or quick money or quick swags from an organization. Now, before moving forward, let's quickly talk about who am I. I am currently working as a cybersecurity consultant at Red Hat Labs, a core pen test at Cobalt.io, and apart from that, I sometimes do bug bounty and I participate in various conferences as a speaker. Now, today's agenda would be to quickly have an introduction about what JIRA is and why we are specifically talking about JIRA related issues. Secondly, we will look at how we can identify a vulnerable JIRA target or what is our area of interest when we are targeting JIRA. Then we will look at the approach or steps to identify known vulnerabilities. Then we will look at a JIRA vulnerabilities mind map for unauthenticated attack vectors. And then at last, we will have a quick look at some of these CVEs which we can easily exploit as a part of live demo. Now, first of all, let's talk about what JIRA is, because understanding our target is really important. Before you go ahead and exploit anything, it's really essential to understand their functionalities and you know that what you are trying to exploit. Okay, so what is JIRA? JIRA is basically a kind of a third-party software developed by Atlassian, which helps teams and organizations to manage their overall process. Initially, it was supposed to be an issue or bug tracker. Let's say you reported an issue on HackerOne or Bugcrowd, and then the after you report an issue which is tried and validated, the organization will use that particular report of yours to track the issue internally in their JIRA systems, right? So this is a simple example of where and why JIRA is used. But these days, the use of JIRA is not limited to the bug tracking or issue tracking only. People use it for agile software development, tracking the various workflows, or maybe tracking the various work task line defined or various timelines defined between the teams. So you can understand JIRA is ultimately a tracking system for everything. You can obviously use or create any kind of boards for any kind of things. It may be a software, it may be, let's say, writing a book, it may be giving a talk or something like that. Okay, so why we are so much interested and why we are specifically talking about JIRA or JIRA related targets. Okay, since JIRA is one of the very popular integration used by a lot of companies who run their bug bounty program, and a lot of companies you might be doing pen testing for might be using JIRA in their use scope. Okay, so when you know that a third-party software is used in your target, it's really essential to look for the known vulnerabilities, because if there is some public exploit available, with the limited efforts you can achieve higher results, right? With the limited efforts you can obviously show or find some impactful findings, right? So this always helps you to have a quick and easy win. So this is why we are talking about JIRA, and this is why the JIRA is one of the interesting point or interesting attack vector for us that we are going to look at now. This is really essential to understand that not all JIRA targets are vulnerable, or not all JIRA targets, or not all JIRA are of our interest, right? So we are particularly interested in the custom implementation of the JIRA software. So often you will see that something like let's say something.atlassian.net, let's say harshbothra.atlassian.net. This is not a JIRA implementation. This is something hosted on the Atlassian's site only, and usually these are up to date. So there is I won't say there is no use, but I would say that we will not be talking about this in the particular today's talk. Okay. Now, on the other hand, if as you see in the first example, something like a subdomain of harshbothra.tag, like JIRA in this particular case. So jira.harshbothra.tag is a custom implementation. This is a subdomain of my website itself, or my host itself. Okay, so this is usually a custom implementation where people deploy a JIRA server or data center or something like that. And if it's an outdated version, you can obviously go and search for the CVs, and you can see if some unauthenticated CVs are there, or if you have access, you have credential, you can check for authenticated CVs. And ultimately, it's relatively easy if there are public exploits available. Now, we will talk about identifying known vulnerabilities. So the first thing first is to identify the custom JIRA implementation. So as I defined previously, that there is a simple way to identify the custom JIRA implementation. Check if it's a subdomain of your main domain. Let's say harshbothra.tech in this particular case. We are really not interested in something, some subdomain of Atlassian.net. We are particularly interested in some subdomain of our host itself, or our target host subdomain itself. Now, once you have identified the custom JIRA implementation, the next step is to check for the JIRA version. And we will look at that, how to check for the JIRA version just in short. Then search for the known vulnerabilities using Mitre or Open Google search. Like you can obviously, let's say you found that a JIRA 7.0 is used. So simply go to Google and say JIRA 7.0 CVs, and then you will be able to look at various CVs available. So now quickly switch over to the browser, and let's see that, how we can look for the JIRA CVs. So what I will do is, first of all, I will go to localhost 8080. So this is a custom JIRA implementation I use for the demo purpose. I installed it for the demo purpose. Now, usually whenever you will go to some custom JIRA implementation, you will see a page like this, or some new version might have some visual differences, but overall you will get a feel like this. Then in the footer section, you will see some V7.0 or some V8.0. So this V string is the version, and this is a particular build. So we are particularly interested in this particular version string. So what I will do is simply I will copy this, and then simply go to Google and then say paste it, and then CVs. Then you will see a lot of website like CV details. Then you can obviously go to jira.atlassian.com and directly track all this the issues identified in the particular Jira version. So this is again a really useful place, and this is CV detail is one of the another useful place. Click on vulnerabilities and you will be able to see the vulnerabilities. And if you want to see vulnerabilities in a specific version, you can also check the version from here or something like that. Let's say let's go back, and let's say we want to check for Jira 7.0. So this now particularly talk about the vulnerabilities which affect Jira 7.0, or the similar things. For accessing this, you might need to, I guess, authorize the Jira, the official website. So let me quickly log in. So you can see that using this, I can also use the official documentation to see that what kind of information is provided, and I can try to further formulate some kind of exploit, right? So this is fairly easy to identify and search for the known vulnerabilities. Just first look for the custom implementation like this one, look for the version, go to Google and simply search for the Jira, then version, and then CV. That's it, right? So now let's quickly move back. Okay, so I hope this thing is clear so far. Obviously, you can ask out to me later on. Now, we will be talking about Jira Vulnerabilities Mind Map. This mind map I released, I guess, in January 2021, and you can use this particular URL to navigate to this mind map. I will be simply using my local version. So this is the mind map of unauthenticated Jira CVs to exploit. I specifically talked about some unauthenticated Jira CVs only, and this is from 2017 to 2020. And all the CVs which were existing till January 2021. There might be some new CVs, and I will be updating this mind map very shortly. So first of all, let's look at the various CVs available. So the first one is CV 2017-9506, which talks about server-side request forgery. All you need to do is to go to the simple Jira URL. Let's say jira.harshbothra.tech, and then add plugin, servlet, auth, users, icon URI, then consumer URI, and then simply provide the SRF payload here, and you will be able to perform SRF if your version is vulnerable. Okay, so keep one thing in mind, that sometimes you will see that you have a vulnerable version, but that's not exploitable. This is because some organization take additional approach to fix the CVs or fix the vulnerabilities. Now, moving forward, there is some CV 2018-2824, which talk about cross-site scripting. So again, you have to simply navigate to this particular JIRA URL, let's say jira.something.com, and then this plugin, servlet, wallboard, dashboard ID, and then this in this particular cycle period parameter, just simply type in alert, document, or domain, and you will be having this payload executed. Then again, this particular CV talk about SSRF by simply adding some attacker controlled payloads in this URL field. Then this information disclosure again allows you to enumerate information about the users and their avatars, like the profile pictures, you can say. So again, simply go to this Jira URL, then append this particular URL, and you will be able to see the user related information. Now, this information disclosure will depend that how many users you are able to, enumerate, or how many users data you are able to filtrate out. So the impact is not always same, but we assume that there are, let's say, 100 users, and you can see information about all those 100 users. So yeah, it's impactful comparatively. Then sensitive information disclosure is this one. Basically, what this one do is you can read the files of the web root directory by navigating to this particular URL. Let's say we are reading the contents of pom.xml. We will see this one, and then this cross-site scripting, the server-side request forgery in action, that how they work. Then this again, there is some user enumeration by using this query parameter and providing the username. You will be able to enumerate user names, valid usernames based upon the responses, the difference in response when a valid versus invalid username is queried. Then again, there are some other CVs. Again, there's a cross-site scripting. Simply navigate to this particular URL, and you will be observing that the payload is getting executed. Then there's this path traversal. Then there is again this template injection. This one works only if this contact administrator is enabled. Then there is information disclosure. This particularly reveals the custom fields, custom SLAs, and etc. So this is a limited information disclosure, limited sensitive information, I would say. Then this particular CV talk about project key enumeration. So whenever you create some dashboards, or whenever you create some kind of boards in the Jira, let's say you created a vulnerability tracking board and named is something called VA1. So this is your project key. So by using browse.va1, you will be seeing, maybe if the authentication checks are not properly implemented, you might be able to even access the contents of VA1, right? As an unauthenticated user. So obviously this should not be happening. But in general scenarios, if it's not patched, the CV is still open, you can enumerate the valid project keys and further use it for the future chaining attacks. At last, there is a user enumeration vulnerability as well. Again, by simply providing the username equals to something, if the valid username is there, it will show the profile information. If not, it will say that user doesn't exist. So we will see this one in the action as well. We will look at this one in the action as well. So we will be looking at like around 5 CVs in the action. But before directly, jumping to the demo section, I would first like to quickly introduce all these 5 CVs to you first, that what they are actually. So let's just talk about them. So if you have any questions till now, you can obviously reach out to me and we can have a discussion about it. Now, the first one is the CV 2020 14818, 181, sorry. Now, before again moving forward, I would like to again mention that all the CVs are discovered by some various people, and all the credits goes to them. I haven't discovered these CVs, and this talk is about how we can utilize these CVs for our bug bounty or pen testing approach. So the original authors have all the credits and the copyrights, obviously. Now, the affected version of Atlassian Jira Server and Data Center allows an unauthenticated user to enumerate valid user via this vulnerability by this view user hover.jsp endpoint. And these are some of the affected versions. So when you will try to exploit this, let's say this http://localhost 8080 is your Jira URL, then you have to add this secure view user hover.jsp endpoint, this username parameter, and then add some username, and based upon the various responses you will be able to enumerate the usernames. So let's see this one in action. So what I will do is first use this one. I'll be directly navigating because I have already listed. So when you will provide something called non-existing, you will see that user doesn't exist. And then you will say, when you will say Harsh Bothra, you will see that the user exists over here. Okay. So now, as you see that when you will say Harsh Bothra, the user exists, and when you say non-existing, user doesn't exist. So this is the simple difference, and you will be able to enumerate the valid users. Now, the CV 2020-14-17-9, this one talks about when the JIRA server and data center allow remote unauthenticated attacker to view the custom field names and custom SLAs and some related information by directly hitting this query component parameter. And these are some of the affected versions. We will look at these like together in some after some 2-3 discussions. Then this is the simple exploitation. When you will directly hit this endpoint as an unauthenticated user, you will be able to see this data, and this should not be available to an unauthenticated attacker in the first place. Then it's CV 2019-8442. In this, the caching resource download rewrite rule class in the JIRA is vulnerable to the information disclosure of the files under this webroot directory in the meta inf via a lex path access check. So in your JIRA URL, when you will add this S, and then there is like, you can be writing anything over here, let's say /s/Harsh, and then this underscore, and then this meta inf, and this maven, and the JIRA path, and then the path of the JIRA, and this is the file that we are trying to right now access. So once you hit it, you will see the content of the pom.xml file over here. So again, this is the information disclosure vulnerability. Now, the next one is the CV 2018-28-4. This one is a simple cross-site scripting below the versions 7.13.1. So all you need to do is to add and navigate to this particular dashboard ID parameter, and then this cycle period parameter is vulnerable to alert document or domain. And when you will hit it, you will see a an access payload executing like this. Then we have this SSR vulnerability in the icon URI servlet, when you will use this consumer URI parameter for, let's say you are putting this attacker controlled server in this consumer URI, and you will see a callback. This one is the limited impact shown for the demonstration purpose. You can try to exploit it for the local SRF as well. Now, we will see the remaining 4 CVs in the live demo section. So let me quickly jump back to my JIRA instance and the side nodes. So let's first look at the cross-site scripting. So what I'm doing is I'm simply copying. So this is my JIRA URL. I am adding this plugin, servlet, wallboard, dashboard ID. Then there's this cycle period, alert document or domain, and just hitting enter, and you will see that this local host says localhost. So this is a successful attack, and this means that this is vulnerable to this particular CV, right? Now, second one is again this pom.xml. So what I will be doing is simply going to this one, and you will be able to see that the contents of the pom.xml files are disclosed. And sometimes there might be some sensitive information which can be used by an attacker to further perform pivoted attacks. Now let's talk about the SSRF one. So what I'm doing is I am going to my Burp Suite, and then simply going to this collaborator client and generating a payload. And you will see that once you will poll it, you will see the HTTP interaction and some DNS queries. We are not much interested in the DNS queries, but the HTTP one is of our interest. And as you see that in the response, you should be able to see something here, like the user agent is Apache HTTP client Java 1.8.051. So this means that this is from our internal server, and again, this is the IP. Now, at last, we will look at this query component one. So simply you are using this JIRA URL and then navigating to secure query component default.jspa, and then using this particular, you will see that various SLA names and things like that, like this particular custom field 10,002, and this is particular key and things like that. This is a limited information disclosure. You have to identify or figure out a way to use this information for the further exploitation. Now, most of these CVs can be automated using Project Discovery's nuclei. They already have the template. So simply go to the nuclei templates, and there should be some workflows. And there should be one workflow related to JIRA. This is the JIRA workflow. And you will see that there are a lot of CVs already there in this particular nucleus. So whenever you will run your target URLs against this JIRA workflow, you will see the various CV IDs over here. These will be tested against your target, and if there is any hit, you will be notified. So this is again a cool thing that you can automate these stuff. You can write your own templates. If there is some new CV coming which is having a public exploit, obviously you can go ahead and write a nuclear template for it and automate it for the masses. Like, you know that you have, like, let's say enumerated 10,000 JIRA targets which are having bug bounty programs, or maybe they're in a scope for a pen testing program or something like that. Simply run it and you have like all the vulnerabilities in your hand in a very less time. On the other hand, for the organization can also run this particular tool like nuclei with the JIRA workflow against their JIRA implementation to identify if they are having a vulnerable version of JIRA, and they may fix it, so that before some adversaries are trying to exploit it, you are already having the fixes in place. So this is pretty much about the talk where we discussed about some of the CVs and how we approach identifying JIRA and the vulnerable components. So I am just quickly moving back. So if you guys have any questions or doubt regarding how we discover JIRA instances, again, I will just quickly walk through. So we can simply look for this kind of custom implementation. So and if it comes to looking for the JIRA's version, identify the custom implementation, look for the JIRA version, and then search on Google for the known vulnerabilities. So if you guys again still have some questions or doubts regarding any of the CVs, if you have anything to discuss for, feel free to reach out to me on Twitter. I am most active on the Twitter. And once again, I would like to thanks Omar and the Red Team Village team for allowing me to present on this Learning Thursdays. It's been pleasure to always work with you guys, and I hope you enjoyed the talk. Thank you. Have a nice day.